If you enjoy the content, I would appreciate you hitting the subscribe button and checking out my socials. Ancient is no doubt the most CT-sided map within the last few years, and many teams struggle to gain rounds compared to their CT side. OGs are ones to break this curse, as they've shown impressive results with their high win rate on their T sides, as well as overall. Helping to take the most important part of the map is Neofrag squad, where he is relentless and shows no fear in the face of aggression. Heya, I'm Smirky, and today I want to look at Neofrag and how he defaults lane on the T side of Ancient, so let's begin. Now before I show you Neofrag's POV, let me give you a quick bit of context. Traditionally, OG like to throw smoke towards cave to stop cave players from peeking out and making it more difficult to take lane. And of course, Neofrag will throw Molotov onto ramp. With both util down, the CTs would be at a disadvantage if they were to push through either side. And it's not as important, but it's worth noting, Flames loves to use the smoke towards mid, contesting for mid control, making it a little bit harder to get onto heaven. Now, when Neofrag's first, he will typically throw this Molotov. This Molotov will land towards this area, making it so if the CTs were to push down, they're forced to use a smoke, which creates a sound cue to alert OG. After the molly, he will traditionally throw a smoke to counter any CT side Molotovs. And by smoking it out, you're creating more space for yourself, and not allowing the CTs to push you around with their util. In round 4 we're going to see something similar, however this round he throws his Molotov slightly higher, which I'm not a massive fan of. In the last clip he aimed a lot lower down, however in this one, since he's aiming so high, the Molotov lands on the top of ramp, whereas the previous one landed it in the middle, and even though it is good for control, the Molotov that he's throwing right now can allow one of the CT players to run past the Molotov before it lands. However in this round, no one from outsiders will contest. He'll put up their Molotov, and in this round, since he smoked himself off, instead of throwing it a bit more to the left, where he has a bit more room, he's going to throw this flashbang which should get any players towards heaven or cave off the angle. Now it's also worth noting at times Neofrag will ask his teammates to molly ramp instead of himself, as this allows him to have a Molotov for later in the round, and we can see in this example, Neofrag's going to run through, put out the lane Molotov, and then throw his own. He's going to bounce the Molotov off the door which should land towards heaven, making it difficult for outsiders to push into mid, into lane. And also covers up a bit of cave. Now there's some scenarios where Neofrag will have a bad spawn and will play towards the door. In this round we can see Neofrag's going to be last, Nex is going to throw the Molotov, and when Nexa runs out, Neofrag's going to peek out into cave and hold for a potential swing. Again, it's pretty damn common for CT aggression to come into lane, so you should always be ready for it. However, when Blamef throws his smoke, it's a possibility Blamef could use it to peek into elbow from heaven, so to see if Neofrag can frag him or deal any damage, he's going to spam the smoke. And in round 7 against Astralis, we're going to see the exact same thing. Next is going to Molotov, Neofrag's going to hold, and then we'll get comfy on ramp. Now, as you probably know already, it's very common to see a door smoke from the CT side. How does Neofrag deal and react to it? Neofrag will always run through the smoke if he has one of these spawns, as he has a good enough timing to make it through the smoke and make it onto lane before any CT aggression. In this round, his teammate's going to Molotov, he's going to run right through the smoke, pull up the Molotov, and get in position to take cave. In round 2, they're going to do the exact same thing. However, when you are doing this, you do need to be careful. As we can see in this round, the only person who has util is Nexa, and it looks like they're setting up for a B-execute, and as a result, they invested in a lot of rifles, and no util to stop the CT aggression. So, outsiders will take advantage of this, Kicker will get flash into lane, and Neofrag and Fika will just get mowed down. Now let's have a look at some rounds when you do wait behind the smoke. In this round, Neofrag had one of the bad spawns, and he's going to do his default util though. He'll Molotov ramp, and soon right after, he's going to pull out a HE. Now in this round, Neofrag's going to throw it right after, however you can wait for the Molotov to be put out, before throwing the HE. By the Molotov being put out, you know there's some CT aggression, and by throwing the HE, you're very likely to get some good damage from it. Neofrag's gonna throw this amazing HE, get close towards the wall where he can listen for information. From this position, he can mainly hear footsteps towards ramp, and can be a good indicator on what the CT side is doing. Now again, Neofrag has a bad spawn, so he's going to throw his default util, and he's going to mix it up a little bit by throwing this flashbang, which A, should deter the CTs from pushing ramp, and B, show presence on ramp, which again makes the CTs think that there's someone on lane actively fighting. However, despite this, Astralis is going to push down ramp, and when Neofrag hears his Molotov being put out, he'll put his smoke away and throw this HE. And as mentioned before, this HE is going to be pretty nice, as it deals solid damage onto Blame F. Afterwards, he will rotate towards A because of Nexus call. From Blame F's POV, we can see he's going to get flashbanged early, but decides to push, throws his smoke, and as a result, eats a HE. Now a little trick you could pull if you are smoked off instead of just standing there is boosting. In this round, we can see Neofrags going to call Dexter over, and he's going to get on top of Dexter's head with his deagle, trying to find an opening kill. But once they reposition themselves, the smoke starts to fade and they don't find anything from it. Now maybe once or twice a game, Neofrag loves to do something fast towards cave and just push right through their own smoke. In this round, Neofrag is on a decore, but this play is still pretty good. Neofrag's going to be running in first, and Flames will be behind him, putting out the Molotov and flashing him in. Flames will bounce a flash off the wall that lands right behind Neofrag and allows him to rush in. If there were any CTs in Cheetah, they would certainly be blind. However, Kickit was in cave and later gets flashed in where he kills Neofrag. In this round, it's going to be an anti-eco, and Neofrag's going to run in with his Mach 10. Since it's difficult for the CTs to contest cave and lane control, Neofrag can just run in with his Mach 10. He's going to throw a Molotov towards the right side, while a teammate towards door will bounce a flash into the entrance, and he will just push right in. After claiming Cheetah, he will throw HE behind the Molotov, where it lands directly onto Score, finishing him off. And even on a full buy, doing this flash play can be pretty effective, as it's such a change of pace, and they may not be ready for it. Now, just like before with Neofrag running in with a Mach 10 or a Tech 9, we have something similar on Dexter. Dexter loves to peek into Cheetah, and Neofrag likes to support him. Dexter's going to be running up first, and Neofrag is going to be right behind him. Because Dexter's got such a good spawn, he can try to get a quick pop shot onto Cheetah. However, BlameF gets lucky as Dexter misses. Dexter will try to chase him down. Neofrag will try to support him the best way possible. And once Dexter's got an angle onto cave, Neofrag will fall off towards white and start spamming the site, making it that little bit uncomfortable for them. In round 11 against IHC, we're going to see the exact same play. Dexter got a really good spawn, Neofrag's going to tag along with a smoke, and Dexter's going to get a small opening, and with this, he gets the opening kill. So as a result of Dexter killing the cave player, Neofrag really wants to apply pressure to the CT side by pushing. He's going to creep his way in, and from here he could either peek onto the site to see if he can get any more kills, but it also could result in him dying. Or he could also position himself inside of cave, waiting for any CT re-aggression, which is likely. In this round, he decides he wants to apply pressure, so you can see he's going to slowly peek in, and he will get the kill onto Techno before falling off to avoid any trades. And from here, he's just going to sit in this position, waiting for Nexus call. There are also scenarios where roughly once a game, Neofrag will go fast towards heaven. And to help him do this, he can use the cover of the cave smoke thrown from spawn to help him cross. In this round, he has a really good spawn, he's in Molotov ramp, gets ready to put out any CT Molotovs, and as he crosses cave, on the way past, he's just going to throw a HE to see if he can get any cheeky damage, and then will peek out towards heaven. Unfortunately in this round, he does get fully blind, however him and Flames could peek out together to find any openings on mid. But in this round, it's not meant to be. In round 10 against Astralis, we can see Neofrag is going to do something similar. He'll run up, put out the Molotov, peek towards heaven, but unfortunately Config is ready for it. It can be somewhat surprising Config is ready for this, as Flames created a lot of presence towards mid, mollied him out of position, but well, unfortunately Config just had an eye on it. Now once Neofrag makes it onto lane, it's very common for him to position himself and get ready for any potential pushes. Let's first take a look at his positioning when he's all by himself. Usually Neofrag is left towards B by himself, when the rest of his team are wanting to go towards mid or A, and Neofrag's left on B to make presence. He's going to throw his Molotov and make his way towards cubby, which seems to be his favourite position to play. From this position, his back is not open, meaning he's not have to constantly turn around to check it. From this position, he can watch his right and left, and wait for any potential CTs to push down. In this round he isn't going to get anything, however his teammates are creating presence on mid, and when they do that, it looks like IHC are responding by throwing this door smoke. As a T, when you are playing towards lane and you see this smoke, you have to be thinking that someone will be pushing down. As this smoke will cut off crossfire with any of your teammates, you're going to be isolated, and it's very easy for them just to swing down lane and try to clear it. So what I'm saying is that it's best to stay focused and not sleep on this smoke. But luckily in this round, no one's going to contest lane. Now, whenever Neofrag is holding onto lane control, he commonly has teammates around him, they can create a setup. The most common setup you'll see out of any team is something like this, where Neofrag will play close towards the boxes looking towards cave, meanwhile Nexus towards the cubby, and he can look towards ramp, creating a setup where both players can easily swing out to help the other. And it's also worth noting in this round, they have a player in Dexter who's towards the doors looking towards ramp, just for that extra defense. And in round 5 against Astralis, we can see Fiku and Neofrag are going to do the exact same setup. Fiku will watch cave, while Neofrag is watching ramp, and they're just going to hold on to this control, while everyone else rotates towards B, getting ready for an execute. Another setup you could run is this one, where both players are kind of in the open, between cubby and the boost, kind of on this slight hill. And right now, both players are behind each other, getting ready for any potential CT players to aggress out of heaven or cave. I wouldn't recommend doing this setup if you are just 2 players, however again, they have a teammate in Dexter who's holding the ramp. This setup does come into fruition, as they both peek out heaven together, Dexter dies, but Neofrag gets the trade, which is still advantageous for the T side. Lastly, if you are just 2 players in lane, you can play this setup. In this round, Neofrag is going to play towards cubby, and he's going to be watching towards cave. And again, he has a teammate who's watching the ramp from outside doors. And to be honest, the position that Nex is playing right now is actually pretty good, especially if you want to play solo B. So if you are by yourself on B lane, you can use this position if you like. However, after waiting for a long time, Neofrag's going to go for this quick jump peek to spot towards heaven. He doesn't spot anything, but he will still smoke it off, and then start moving towards cave, where he'll get ready to take it. Now, roughly 60 to 70% of the time, Neofrag will attempt to go for cheater control. Having this control is pretty important, as if you leave it to the CTs, it's very easy for them to peek out into lane and gain so much information, as well as peek into mid. In this round, Neofrag's going to make his way up, and he's going to Molotov the right side. By Molotoving the right side, it limits the positions the CTs can play from, and it also blocks off the doorway. This allows Neofrag to come in and focus on clearing the left side. Once he gets control, he's just going to hold the doorway and wait for OG to regroup onto B so they can execute. In round 7 against IHC, we're going to see something similar, except this time he's going to use a HE, which will bounce into the right corner, damaging anyone playing from that direction. But soon after throwing the HE, he's going to look at this tiny little gap. Now this is actually a pretty sick angle, as it's so difficult for the CTs to keep an eye on this little angle, and because the CTs are constantly moving around cheater, trying to dodge HEs, Molotovs, perhaps get in a good position, probably they're going to walk past this angle. However, because the angle is so tight, you may want to try and go for a wall bang, like we see Neofrag's crosshair in this example. But after looking at the gap, Neofrag knows the smoke is about to fade, so he'll try to Molotov the right side, But while unfortunately, they're going to re-smoke it, so he's just going to spam. And we can see this pattern a lot from Neofrag, where he might throw stuff in its cave, look at the gap for a short period, and then trying to get ready to take cave control. And we can see in this round, Outsiders are actually going to re-smoke it, and he's going to do a quick spam, which puts Kicker onto 4 HP. There was actually an example though, where Neofrag was able to successfully pull off this angle. Again, he's just going to be defaulting, and Kicker is just going to shift walk right into it, giving OG the 5v4 man advantage. From here, Neofrag knows that he's killed the cave player, so he's going to try to push in, but unfortunately wasn't expecting Norbert to also be in cave. Now lastly, I want to touch on how to retake lane. If you don't get the best spawns, and you are having to wait for door smokes to go away, you'll need to know how to retake it. Unfortunately from the demos I watched, I didn't see that many times where Neofrag had to retake, so after this clip I'll show you a good way on how to take it. In this round though, Neofrag and Nexa are waiting for it to fade. Neofrag will keep his crosshair on Cubby. OG will try to contact their way out, but unfortunately Kicker will catch him off guard, however will get traded. Now let me show you a good way to retake, with some ideas I've seen from other teams. Now let's say you smoked off. If you have a spare Molotov, you can throw the Molotov onto ramp to disrupt any CTs hiding on ramp for anti-flash. Afterwards, when the smoke is about to fade, you can get a teammate to do this flash. And this flashbang will land right above lane, blinding anyone in this corner. It will get some parts of the cubby area, but if they are playing pretty close, it won't affect them. And if they're playing towards the cave area, it should get them off the angle for a little bit, allowing you to swing in and fight for control. Now in this round they are going to use a flashbang, however there wasn't a door smoke to worry about. Behind him, Nex is going to line himself up for the same flashbang I did, and when Neofrag's ready, Nex will throw it, Neofrag will peek out, but unfortunately Score will swing out of the cave smoke and get the frag onto Neofrag. After watching Neofrag's demos, I've noticed he's quite relentless. Neofrag will consistently push through enemy smokes, as well as throw his own defensive util to get tucked into lane against all odds. He's aggressive, he has a nice set of aggressive plays he likes to use, as well as being willing to push whenever. He may get flashed for a smoke, hide in one, swing heaven, and so on. Lastly, he's a good pace changer. Neofrag understands when he should change the pace and go in quick at the start of the round or play slowly. Having these plays can condition the CTs on where he wants them to be. I.e., he plays slow, then suddenly plays super aggressive, catching the CTs off guard. Apart from that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Perhaps you need to spice up your ancient T-sides. Well, I broke down a nice mid-strat from Bad News Eagles, which you can check out in the description. Apart from that, thanks for watching, see you in a bit.